why a fourth check may not happen. It's been over 2 months since the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan was signed into law, and over the past 8 weeks or so, Americans have been enjoying the stimulus payments they've been collecting. As of last week, the IRS had issued an estimated $388 billion in stimulus funds. Most of those payments came in the form of direct deposits to recipients' bank accounts, while others came in the mail, either in check or debit card form. At this point, a lot of people are wondering whether a fourth stimulus payment will be in the works. And some people may even be counting on that money to dig out of debt or fund other plans they have. But here are 3 reasons why the previous $1,400 stimulus round will be the last. 1. The jobless rate is improving. For the past 2 weeks, new jobless claims hit record lows in the course of the pandemic, and there's reason to believe that May's unemployment rate will show a decline from April's. That's good news with regard to an economic recovery, but it also means that there may not be a need for another stimulus round. Furthermore, a number of industries, notably restaurants, are actually reporting a labor shortage, as are some states. Montana is one of them. That means there are jobs out there. And if there are available jobs, the public doesn't need more money in stimulus form. 2. Lawmakers don't want to disincentivize workers from getting a job. The American Rescue Plan boosted unemployment benefits by $300 a week through early September, but so far, at least 21 states are ending that boost ahead of schedule. Some states, in fact, are pulling that extra money as early as June. The reason? They fear that boosted unemployment is deterring the jobless from going back to work. The same can be said for another stimulus round. If Americans get another windfall, those who are unemployed may not have the same fire to go out and find a job, and a widespread labor shortage could hinder a greater economic recovery. 3. Things are improving on the pandemic front. Recently, the CDC announced that vaccinated Americans can ditch their masks indoors as well as outdoors, and so far, more than a third of the US population has been fully vaccinated. Now that things are opening up and restrictions are being lifted across the country, it gives businesses more leeway to operate at full capacity. That should, in turn, lead to an uptick in revenue and more job openings, thereby negating the need for an extra stimulus round. While a fourth stimulus round may be nice, at this point, it's not so likely to happen. But actually, the reasons for that are generally good ones, so rather than bemoan the loss of that fourth check, a check that was never actually promised in the first place, focus instead on the fact that we may finally be moving past the pandemic once and for all. 3 reasons there's still demand for a fourth stimulus check. Compared to this time last year, life appears to be getting better. And for many Americans, things are definitely looking up. But the cry for a fourth stimulus check is tied to the millions still struggling to put food on the table. Here are 3 reasons there are so many people still hoping for additional help in the way of another direct stimulus payment. 1. Lingering unemployment. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, reports that the unemployment rate in April was 6.1%. Despite the fact that 6 out of 100 workers in the U.S. are unemployed, 22 Republican-led states have determined that boosted unemployment benefits are no longer necessary and are opting out of the federal programs that promised an extra $300 per week to unemployed workers through September 4, 2021. For families barely able to get by during the pandemic, taking more away from them feels like a recipe for financial disaster. An unemployed worker who counted on an extra $1,200 per month may be unable to pay rent. That, in turn, may impact the landlord's ability to pay their bills, and so on. Although the boosted unemployment benefits have been labeled as frivolous by the GOP, those benefits are part of what has helped keep millions of Americans afloat. It's easy to see how cutting them could increase the call for aid in other forms, including more stimulus money. 2. Not everyone benefits from the child tax credit. Beginning in July, middle and low-income families will begin receiving monthly payments as part of the expanded child tax credit. According to the Biden administration, approximately 88% of all children living in the U.S. will be eligible for funds. While the child tax credit is expected to help support an economic recovery, not everyone has children. Americans without children must find a way to get back on their feet without the assistance of a tax credit. 3. Mask confusion may slow recovery. It appears that there are two camps when it comes to vaccine and mask compliance. There are those who refuse the vaccine and fight tooth and nail to avoid wearing a mask in public, and those who carefully adhere to CDC recommendations. Now that mask mandates are being lifted across the country, it's fair to assume that Americans who have carefully protected their health over the past 15 months will be hesitant to visit stores and restaurants that allow a totally mask-free experience, primarily because there is no way to know who has been vaccinated. For some businesses, recovery may be slow as Americans get a better sense of where they can safely spend time. Among the small businesses that have thus far survived the pandemic, a slow recovery will inevitably lead to the need for additional assistance. Although we don't expect the demand for a fourth stimulus check to dissipate anytime soon, we are realistic enough to recognize that Congress has already pivoted toward other issues, like arguing over whether an insurrection took place on January 6th and how much is too much to spend on an infrastructure bill. Perhaps as COVID deaths decrease and jobless numbers improve, the appeal for more stimulus money will wane. The next few months should tell the story.